watch the Mavs last night?
Yes, I did. Oh my goodness gracious, I've never seen anybody live do something like that. And then oh my god, that was crazy.
How much does that teach you? I mean, obviously what Luka did was
I can't do
unbelievable.
that.
But how much does it teach you though that the game is never over? Like there's always some time for a comeback. If you're within single digits.
Yeah, I text team group chat, then I text my dad, and then I text my best friend. Like that was literally the craziest thing I ever seen from Luke and the team. Like, yeah, that teaches you the game's never over. And it's so cool to see the best players in the world execute that because I mean it's a regular season game. They didn't have to fight for it, you know what I mean? But they did, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was super. It was great.
Because I think I saw a stat today. It was something like teams who were trailing by 9 points with 35 seconds left in a game, or 0 in like 1,384 in NBA history. That was the first time anybody's ever done something.
And then the coaching was great because the coach brought in JaVale McGee to tip the ball, and then had Christian Wood, who's also very big, tip did it work perfect. Luka makes a Luka shot, then it goes to overtime.
Do you guys bond as a team over moments like that? Like just moments great,
Yeah, we literally just got out the locker room talking about it, and then it sprung a whole NBA debate. So yes, for sure.
Is that the best regular season performance you think in NBA history, off the top of your head? No?
Kobe Bryant, 81 points, I think is. And then
Kobe's 81 is more impressive than 60, 21, and 10?
Maybe not, but then you got who dropped 100.
Will.
Yeah, so you got that too. So I don't dropping 100 is unbelievable. It definitely should be considered next to 81 for sure. I don't know if it's better. 81 is a lot of points, but first 60-20 game, so it's definitely the conversation.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm. Still your favorite player?
Yeah, I like Russell Westbrook. I mean, it's more or less like not as much as it used to be. You know what I mean? But a lot of respect for Russ.
Why was it Russ?
Just the energy and the passion he plays with. You know what I mean? What he does is kind of extra. I don't really care. I can't do what Russ does. So I don't really model my game after him or nothing. But he cares, and you can tell. So that's what I like.
Who's a pro player that maybe you don't even model your game after, but you see certain things and you try to emulate those little aspects of their game?
I don't know about emulate, but just the effort Russ gives is something I just always respected, man. Always respected. And there's a lot of other players too, but just one of them per se.
JB, obviously news broke this afternoon about Dior rejoining you guys as a team. As a veteran leader who's been here, to see other players get reinstated throughout time, what was maybe the difference in those situations, and how has the team received Dior since he's returned?
Yeah, I mean, I would say each situation has been a little bit different. Last year with IT, he came back, and then he was taken away a little bit longer before he was able to be back for the full rest of the season. But I just feel like it's good to have everybody back in practice, more able bodies. We're able to do a little bit more things on the scout. Having extra bodies out there, more reps, more opportunities to, simulate our opponents. So it's been good having them back, and, we're just trying to get better each and every day.
Did Dior say anything, or is it just like no fanfare? Like, hey, let's just get him back in and let's get back to work.
Yeah, I mean, when he came back, he obviously had some things to say to the locker room. After that, we had a family meeting, and, we've been back to business. We're looking forward to an awesome opponent coming in on Friday, and we're just trying to keep the main thing the main thing.
Was your input were your input as players considered in this decision of bringing him back? Were you guys asked what you wanted to do, or was that just a decision made by Coach Capel or the university?
Yeah, I would just say it was a family decision. Everybody that was involved, had great input into what we wanted to do and what was even possible for the rest of the season. So for us, like I said again, we're just trying to keep the main thing, and just continue to push forward as a unit and lock in on our opponent on Friday.
How hard is it to deal with losing a teammate during the season, whether it's to injury or to something like this, where you kind of have to kind of regroup and say, okay, this is what we're going to be going forward, and kind of change maybe the scope of what you're looking for?
Yeah, I would say nothing's linear. There's always some ebbs and flows, things that change, injuries and other things like that could take away from, the whole group being together. And, during those moments, it's just next man up. opportunities for other players, as you've seen. We just try to get better as a group, regardless of who's in the locker room and putting on the jersey.
JP, do you want to talk about North Carolina now?
I mean, we can.
Okay, figured you might want to do that instead. Yeah, okay. Just looking at what North Carolina brings to the table, they have so many different players who can score the basketball. What do they do well that makes them so dangerous on the offensive end?
Yeah, I would just say their change of pace. Like, they play pretty fast. They're a transition team. That's one of the emphasis that we're going to have going into this game is getting back in transition, putting man in front of the ball, trying to stop the basketball. And, as their players are very talented. So that's what makes them a great opponent to go up against.
You guys were the last team to beat them before they went on their run to finish strong and then have the really big finish that they had last year. What's different about this team this year that you guys have studied and said, hey, we got to lock in on this part of them?
Yeah, I would say for the most part they got a lot of their guys back, so it's pretty much a lot of the same pieces. They've just got another year under their belt. So for us, they're very dynamic. We're taking our scouting report from last year and putting some wrinkles to it, and we just got to come together on Friday, with our hard hats on.
What's something that Caleb Love does well that makes him one of the best players in the country?
I would just say he's a 3-level scorer. You got to respect him at all levels, and that's what makes a guy dangerous is when they're very versatile, and he has that.
You mentioned, I'll ask one more Dior question and then I'm done. You mentioned Dior addressed the locker room. Could you share any of what he talked about and kind of what your guys' response was to that?
We're going to keep that internal in the locker room, so let's move on to questions about North Carolina.
Can I ask a Dior question? It's not about that, but what does he bring to the practice? You mentioned about the able bodies. What does he bring to practice that can maybe possibly simulate something that Carolina does?
He's already talked. We've already addressed the Dior stuff. Let's move on to North Carolina, please.
So just with North Carolina and then even looking forward, I mean, you guys have a gauntlet of games coming up here with Virginia and Clemson and Duke. I mean, does it help that you had a little bit of time off and were able to all kind of, go back with your families for the holiday and now get back together well rested? Or would you have preferred to just kind of keep on rolling because you guys were playing decent ball after your Syracuse win?
Yeah, I would say it was good for all of us to take a break. Get back with our families, be able to regroup, be able to rest our bodies. We got a lot of guys that play a lot of minutes, so for us, I would say it's good. In practice, we're just trying to simulate as best as we can to the game. Coach is doing his job as far as scouting reports and incorporating the right drills and schemes that will prepare us for Friday. So for us, it's just getting our bodies back moving, getting our minds back right, and fully locking in for the game on Friday.
North Carolina has a lot of different guys who can score from different ways. You guys as a defense have gotten better this year.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys have to do to kind of make sure that either that takes place or you improve this week to stop the different ways that they try to beat you?
Yeah, I would say for us, it just starts with our mindset first. Us having the know-how, being locked in for the full 40 minutes against a team like this, going out and understanding that the only way we're going to win this game is if we take care of what we need to take care of on the defensive end. That's boxing out every time there's a shot. That's getting on the ground for extra possessions, getting to every loose ball. Just trying to control all the things we can control. The last game that we lost, which was against Vanderbilt, we slipped in those areas. So for us, that's just the greatest, points of emphasis going into this matchup.
Love scored 19 points against you guys last year. What stands out to you about his game?
Like I said earlier, his versatility. I can remember him scoring a lot of points late in that matchup, but he's a guy that we definitely have to pay close attention to and have our antennas up.
What kind of atmosphere are you expecting here? Given that the students are on break and you have the bowl game going on later in that day, are you hoping to have a pretty much a North Carolina atmosphere? Or do you expect it to be a little bit different than normal, like a normal ACC game when students are in session?
Yeah, we hope that everybody that's in Pittsburgh, comes out and supports us. That's the biggest thing. But for us, we can't really control nor worry about how many, people are in the crowd. For us, we got to lock in on a opponent at hand.
When you guys are scoring as well as you did in the parts of Syracuse you guys went on your runs, how much are you thinking in the middle of the game? Like when you, Nelly, Blake, Greg, we're all feeling it like that.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that is just instinct, like this stuff's coming naturally to us versus like, hey, let's do this and switch this up in this moment?
Yeah, I would say for us, we we've been able to establish rhythms. And when we get our rhythm going, when we get in our sets, when we're locked in, that any one of us is capable of making a shot. And that's the biggest thing for us, is just making sure that the ball has no eyes, the ball has energy, we're moving it, and the right guys to take the right shots at the right moments.
JB, a guy that has really stepped up for your team this year has been Fetty.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say he's grown since the first time you met him?
Yeah, I would say he's grown a lot, especially on the defensive end. I mean, he's a great, he blacks all the ball screens. He's running back. He just gives us that great sense of energy that we need from him. So I would say he's improved from, the first game all the way up to now, just gaining experience along the way. He's growing his wings while flying. This is his first time, playing at this level. And, we just encourage him each and every day to, continue to get better and to continue to help this team.
What about as a person off the court? Like you just said, it's his first time playing at this level. He comes here from a JUCO. What have you seen from him as a person, evolving? And do you get a sense he's more comfortable here now?
Yeah, definitely. I would say he's been around us for months now. He understands that the relationships are genuine, and that we're all, pulling in the same direction. That's to win ball games.
What was he like when he first arrived? Was he like shy at all, or is that not who he is?
I would say he wasn't completely shy, but he wasn't how he is now. Now he's not afraid to be himself. He's open. He's more vocal, and that's carried over to the court.
I know this isn't a new storyline, but Coach Capel has a long history playing against Carolina. How much does he share that or express that to you guys the week of the game? That this is a team that he loves to beat from his Duke days.
Yeah, I mean, him being a past player, at Duke, there's obviously a rivalry going on. But, in special matchups like this, he just continues to put the battery in our backs, especially in moments, in matchups like this. He just continues to encourage us and, light a fire underneath us. So, we're just looking forward to the matchup again and feeding off his energy as he's on the sideline, directing us and coaching us.
I've heard a few other of your teammates say that for the battery in our back. Is that another Capelism? Is that something he says, or
no?
Where'd you guys get
It
that one
actually
from?
came from Nike.
Nike? Oh,
Yeah,
that's who I heard it from.
Yeah, it actually came from Nike, and I've coined it. I've taken it from him, and I just try to do the same thing, and that's put batteries in other guys' backs each and every day.
Jeff, obviously, news broke today about Dior rejoining the program. Can you talk to us a little bit about the decision to reinstate him and the team's reaction to having him back?
It was a process that our athletic director and I talked. We met with him, felt good about where everything is right now, and giving the kid another chance. And, a lot of meetings, a lot of time with Dior. Throughout the whole process, we stayed in touch, communicated, and just went through that process and just made the decision that I talked to guys on the team prior to us making that final decision. I talked to a group of guys about where we were and what I was thinking, what I think is best, and wanted to get their thoughts on it, which I really appreciated their thoughts, and made the decision to go in that direction. Dior addressed the team the 26th. That's the first day that we got back. And he's been with us since.
Was the decision for him to redshirt one that you guys made, or was that a decision he made on his own?
It was a decision that I talked to him about. And again, it wasn't my decision, but it's something we talked through and felt like it was the best thing.
What made you feel like that was the best thing?
I just think it's the best thing. I mean, he hasn't played basketball since October 7th. And it's very hard. What was that? I'm sorry. It was very hard when you haven't played in almost 3 months to come back and to be able to play it. There's a process, there's a ramp up, and especially as you get to ACC play, it's very hard. You risk injury when you haven't played and competed, and so we just felt like it was the best thing for him and for us, but mainly for him.
His final plea was entered a few weeks ago. By this point, how quick was the process, if you could share any more of those details about getting him back and reinstated and then going forward with that process?
There's a university process that we have to adhere to, and then there was a process where we wanted to meet. When I say we, Heather and I wanted to meet with Dior and to talk to him. we've had contact, but not face to face. And obviously, as the case was ongoing, we never talked about anything that was going on with the case. That's not my place. It's not our place. Once that was adjudicated, then we met with him and we wanted to talk. We wanted to just go through and hear from him and see what he's learned and things like that. And then Heather and I met. We talked. We discussed. And then, but none of that stuff happened until I think the first time we did it was the Monday before we played Syracuse. So whatever that date is, I think that may have been the 19th. I think that was that Monday. Over the break, Dior and I had several conversations just about his role, about possibly redshirting, about what would be best. My thing is what's best for him. Obviously, I'm always thinking about our program, but you got a young guy that we're trying to teach. I still think we're in the business of teaching. At least that's why I got into this thing and helping young people. And I feel like he's a kid that we can help, and we're going to try to help him.
Have you seen growth in Dior's maturation from the time that all of this went down up until now?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you go through something like he's been through, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about people. You learn about who's with you, who's not. You learn a lot. And, he's been through a lot in 18 years. And so we have. And we'll see, but it's still a lot of growth for him.
Seems like it's also a lot for a team that's going through a season and trying to grow to also try to be there for someone when they come back from a situation like that. How have you seen your team welcome him back?
They've been good. I mean, they've been good. I mean, they want to try to help him. They want to try to teach him. We have some older guys that have been through a lot, that have been through adversity, that have been through different things that can help him. And so they've been good with them.
Jeff, you said your priority is to help Dior before the team, but how does he help the team?
I didn't say it was before the team.
Well, I mean, you just said.
I didn't say before the team.
Sure.
I said my priority is to help Dior and our team
Okay.
and our program. That's what I said. So I didn't say before the team.
So I put those words in there, but
Yep.
what I meant to ask is, how does he help the team in terms of practice? How does he
Yeah.
help the team in terms of giving you a look for your opponents?
Well, he helps us a lot in that area. And he's a talented young guy. And so right now we have a really good practice player, a guy that can simulate, some really good guards that we'll play against. And give us a really good look. He's good with the ball. He can shoot it. He can handle it. He has some creativity to him. He's not afraid. And he loves to play basketball. He loves to compete. At the same time, how I know we can help him is we have some older guys teaching them of how to be a really good teammate, teaching them how to work, teaching them the discipline that it takes to be a good player, teaching them how to, be in college and to be around something, to be a part of something. Obviously, we know his journey, and I think a lot of people have judged him because of all the different schools. If that's the case, there are a lot of guys in high schools, as much as these kids transfer and go to different schools. He's not a bad kid at all, but learning how to be a part of something, learning how to trust, that's something that he's got to go through. And that's how I know that we can help him, not just our team, but our university, our athletic department. Those are all areas that we want to do. And again, that's why I got into this, man. I mean, I went through stuff when I was younger, and, I had people there for me, whether it was my coaches, my teammates when I was a freshman and coming in and don't know anything, and some of the older guys in the program, some of the former players. I mean, that's what this is about, is trying to help people. And so I want to help him. Obviously, I got to look out for our program too, and I think we can do both.
Jeff, is this the toughest decision you had to make as a head coach?
I don't know. It's been a lot of decisions when you're in this, and I've been in it for a while. There are a lot of tough decisions that you have to make. And so, you make them and you live with them and you hope they work out.
I guess moving forward.
Yeah, we do play Carolina.
Yeah, that's coming, right?
They're not bad.
You guys were the last team to beat them before they went on their run at the end of the regular season. What's different about them now that they've had more time to grow with a lot of those guys?
Well, I think obviously they're really, really talented, and they're playing well right now. They hit a bump in the road this year. They had to deal with some injuries. And sometimes when you have great success like they did, how do you handle that success? And they went from a team when we played them last year that was maybe at that time like a bubble team. And, they got beaten in the ACC tournament. I think Virginia Tech beat them, and they got in, and then they got hot. And, they make this magical run to get all the way to the championship. They beat Duke twice, which ended the kind of the thing at Duke and in the Final Four. And then they were up, I think it was 16 against Kansas. And so when you have success like that, man, sometimes that's the most difficult thing to handle when you haven't been through it. And you can go through a summer and a time where you think it's going to be easy. I think, just looking from afar, I think maybe that's one of the things that happened. Like you get all the hype, you're preseason number one, you're really good, you have everyone back. The environment's different now, like maybe NIL is involved. I don't know anything with their program, so I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, there were some NIL deals and how you deal with that. And then everyone's gunning for you. They've had to deal with that because it's Carolina. When you're at Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, you got to deal with that. But when you have success, it's different. And, they took some lumps this year, but they've eaten that. They've learned from it, and they're playing really, really, really well right now. They have two elite guards in Davis and Love. They have an elite big guy in Baycott. They have one of the best transfers in Pete Nance. And they have one of the ultimate glue guys and a really good player in Leaky Black. And so they're very, very talented, and they're playing really well right now. I don't see much of a difference from where they are right now to how they were at the end of the year, especially how they've played over the last 4 games. And so we're playing against one of the most talented teams in the country and one of the teams with the most, continuity of guys that have played together.
Nance coming to North Carolina from Northwestern. What does he add to this group that it didn't have last season?
I don't know if he adds anything that they didn't have, because the guy who replaced Brady Manick was really good. He's probably a better defender than Manick, as far as shot blocking and things like that. But I think they're very similar. They can stretch the floor. They can put it on the floor a little bit. And they're really good complements to the other guys that they have. So I don't know how much difference it is, but they're both really, really good.
How was Carolina different under you?
Very. It's really fascinating watching them. And I have so much respect for Hubert, because when you take over a job like that after replacing, Coach Williams, it can be really hard to come in and to change. Yeah, especially at a program like that that's so tradition laden. And, he's a guy that played there, that played under that. When you watch them, they really do nothing like the old Carolina teams do. Like, you're so used to seeing secondary break. You're so used to the sets like every year. I mean, it was like the same stuff that I played against. So like the 90s. And so seeing it's very different. The freedom that the guards have. I mean, I think there was a game this year where Caleb Love took 36 shots. I don't know if there was a Carolina player ever that took that many shots in a game. I mean, and so the freedom that you have, seeing the different style that, that they're playing. So I have a lot of respect for him, man. I know last year he probably, took some lumps and people were saying things about him. But the fact that he remained steadfast in what he believed in and got those guys to stick together and to go on that run is a testament to him and staff and the guys' belief in what they're doing.
As far as preparing for him, you knew Carolina inside and out since your playing days. Does it make it harder to prepare for a guy that you're not as familiar with, the stuff that he's done? Or was there always a challenge? You may have been a little too comfortable with Carolina previously. Now you have to.
That's a great question. It's interesting because even though you knew what they were going to do, it was still really hard to stop because of who they had, because of the talent and how well they did it, how hard they did it. and the success they had. I mean, there's not a more successful program. There's some that as successful, but there's not a more successful program, and I have so much respect for that program. And so I wouldn't say it makes it easier. It's just different. It's different, like the sets that they run. Now they're still playing fast, and they're still really good offensive rebounding. That's been the staple of their program for a really, really long, since Coach Smith and things like that. But just probably the sets that they're running, and some of the things they do defensively is very different. So I wouldn't say it's harder. It's just different.
Saw a video of John working out during the break that you guys had, working on some different things. What have you seen with him? How have you seen him take advantage of the time off away from having to play so much?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a process of him, just trying to get better in every aspect of his life, and we want to be there to support him, to encourage him, to help him, and to be there for him.
Do you have an update on his timetable to return? Is he expected to play against
Not
North
sure.
Carolina?
Not sure. Don't have an update.
One last thing. Yeah. How much do you share with these guys your history with Carolina and your love for them?
I don't really share much of my history at all. I mean, that was my time. I try to be in their moment and try to be in their time. I don't.
These guys know, though.
They probably do. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Again, I try to be in their moment, man. I had my time as a player. I loved every second of it. I would give just about anything, not everything, but just about anything to be able to go back and to put on a jersey again and to be in that locker room and to play in a game like this. And I'd love to do that. But I had my time. I want to be in their moment. I want to try to help create moments for them and be a part of their journey. So I don't really talk about my old past. Now, my brother may, but I don't I don't really talk about my stuff that much.
Jeff, what's your definition of a glue guy?
It's a guy, man, that's all about winning, that does the little things that maybe don't show up in a score, in a stat sheet, that can fit with anyone, that can fit with any player, any team, that just makes winning plays nonstop, that's all about winning, that's all about the team. It's kind of like a chameleon. Like, he can just go and just fit in all these little things. He can fill any role. If you need him to score, he can score. If you need him to not take a shot and be okay and do all the other things, the rebound, the screen, the knowing the plays, to talking, all of those things, to, hustling, being a guy that takes charge, like whatever it is. And I think that kid is an elite one. I think Leakey's an elite one. I think he's going to be a pro. I think he's going to be an NBA player. I really and truly do, because of his size, his athleticism, and his ability to do all those different things. If you look at the league now, a guy that's like 6'8" and that can guard multiple positions, that's kind of what that league has turned into. And I think he has a chance to be an elite guy like that, an elite glue guy.
Jeff, your young big man has another big test against Baycott with Fetty. He's had some other challenges already with good front court matchups. How have you seen him grow into the player and the person he is since he arrived on campus?
Well, he's grown a lot. I still go back and say I wish we could have had him this summer, but we didn't. He loves the process of working. He's not afraid of it. He shows up every day. He's got a really good attitude. He does extra. He doesn't shy away from that. He's not in a hurry to get out of here after practice or anything like that. He's usually early. Not usually. He's always early. He's usually late, stays late. And when you work like that, man, normally good things happen. This will be probably the biggest challenge because this will be the best guy he's played against. And this is different because this is a guy they play through. And a guy that's had a lot of success in this league, so he's earned a favorable whistle. But he doesn't have to do it by himself. We have to help him with it. Everyone has to do that. We have to collectively defend Baycott and Carolina. It can't be just a one guy thing. But he's grown a lot. He's gotten more confident, and we're gonna need him to continue to be good for us.
Who do you consider your glue guy, or maybe other coaches might consider? Like, do you think
Yeah.
he else would consider yours?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I think you got to be careful with your own guys saying it because they could get offended by it. You know,
They could take it the wrong way.
exactly. It's interesting, man. You say things to young guys now, and they get offended. You compare them to guys, and these are guys that are pros, that are in the NBA, and yeah, you should emulate him. You should do this, and them and their families get offended by that, which is hard for me to understand because it's times a guy that's making, 12, $13 million. I tell a story all the time. One of my best friends is the general manager for New Orleans. And we talk all the time. We were teammates for 3 years. I mean, we are as close can be. And usually around the draft, we talk even more. And he'll call me to ask opinions and the guys we played against or guys I've seen live and things like that. And then one of my questions leading up is always like, who do you like? Like, tell me what you – and I remember this is a few years ago, and I remember talking to him, and I remember saying, who do you like? And he was telling me about their team. He's talking, and he says, we got guys that can score. Like we got Brandon, we got Zion, we got time they had Drew Holiday, they hadn't traded him yet. Guys can rebound. We got these guys or whatever. Like what I need is a guy that can like defend those guys. I need a guy that can defend like a Zion or Brandon or can kind of play. And the guy that I like that was in that particular draft, he won't be available for us. He'll be gone by then. He was like, but JC, like I'd pay someone like $15 million a year to do that. You mean to tell me that's offensive? Like, you tell your team that, or you tell guys that you think could maybe fill that role and whatever, and they get offended by it. So it's interesting, man. So I don't know who my glue guy would be. I don't know.
Well, I wanted to ask because you've talked to us before about being real with players, knowing how to be real in the right moments, so you don't say the wrong things that breaks up your relationship. But how do you be real about that point in this era of college, of just the culture of basketball?
Being real here has gotten me in trouble with some guys, to be completely honest with you. I mean, it probably has. And so I've had to learn, to maybe not be as real, just to kind of keep it superficial and keep it here. Look, every kid's dream is to be a pro. I get like that was mine. Like I get that. I don't think anyone really understands how hard it is. I mean, it's really, really hard. And you have to be exceptional. And you got to be you have to be all those things. I tell our guys, I've been around a lot of them. A lot. Whether it was, I had one when I was at VCU. I had couple when I was at Oklahoma, obviously being at Duke, being around USA basketball. So when I see it, I can normally tell. I can see it. I can see a kid in high school and say, all right, like this kid, as long as he doesn't get hurt or whatever. So you got to be, I just learned, man, I try to keep my stuff to myself with that and not get onto that and just try to concentrate on how do you be a good player today? How do you be a good player right now? How do you do this? And try to just keep that stuff to myself, man. Maybe as they get a little bit older and mature and things like that, you can have those conversations with them, but it's a different time right now.
Thoughts on Blake earning co-ACC Player of the Week and his development over the whole season?
Yeah, pretty cool, really awesome, happy for him. I think it's well-deserved. He's played well. Obviously had a great game at Syracuse, and we needed every second of it. He's another one, man. He loves to work. Usually there very early. Not usually, always. Stays late, gets extra work in. Not afraid of the process. Unbelievable teammate. Unbelievable guy to be around. Those are two things I didn't know before we got him. I knew that he was a good guy, but again, he hadn't played in 2 years. And if I go by the way everyone judges people, then I maybe wouldn't have anyone on my team. And so, he's been an unbelievable teammate. He's so much fun to be around because he's normally always in a good mood. Blake's a football player that plays basketball. And what I mean by that, most football players I know are really loud. Blake's very loud. He's full of personality. There's never really a dull moment around him. and he loves to compete. He loves to play basketball. He's so grateful to be a part of something and to be here and to have people that believe in him. And obviously, the success has just made it even more special.